I apologize for the delay. We got a little, I guess you call it pest control. Tell you what, let's go ahead and call everything to order, say the pledge of allegiance, say our prayer, and maybe we will. Y'all join me in the pledge of allegiance, short prayer, now, appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we just ask that you be with us, Lord. Heavenly Father, as we do business of the country, guide us, guide our minds, and guide our thoughts, Father. We just ask that you look down on us and bless us, Lord. Heavenly Father, keep us strong, keep us safe. And Heavenly Father, just let us be able to do your will. We pray this prayer in your Son, in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Not there. Throw it up there.
Won't go that thing.
You have to call it a pipe.
Okay, you want to do that with paper? All
I
right, so
don't see it, but I'll just have to talk to it.
budget here, and that's the first thing this morning before we start our regular meeting. You can't get all of the screen and projecting all the work, so they're gonna do it with paper. Did y'all have copies of this? Anybody that wanted it? Got it?
Commissioners have it. We thought we'd have it up on the screen, but it's not coming up on the screen. So, later, if anybody wants a copy of it, Liz can get you copies of it, but you just have to follow along this morning.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
I apologize, but let's go, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris, I'm gonna turn this over to Chris Hudson. This budget here.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are y'all?
Well, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm here to present the 2021 budget. The county is on a calendar year, so the county is on a calendar year, so this budget will take place starting January 1st, 2021. A lot of the things I say today, I will be comparing numbers, projections of next year versus what 2020 is shaping up to be. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Yeah. Testing. All right there? Okay, sorry. The budget process is starts around August or maybe earlier. We start requesting from the elected officials and departments their plans for next year, and then we start collecting what they plan to want to spend next year. They have requests, and then the county takes that request, considers it, and tries to accommodate all the needs of the county. As you know, money is limited, so it doesn't all get in there. But that's the way we do it. And then the budget is approved at a commissioners meeting. It has to be advertised in the newspaper for, I believe, 1 week or 10 days, and it's already in the newspaper now. And then you have to have one public hearing. We're going to have two. We're going to have this one today, and then we're going to have a second public hearing, which would be simply a repeat of what we're saying today on October the 20th at 5 p.m. so that people can come in the evening and hear it. But today I want to cover the budget for next year. And when I say the budget, there are several funds that we talk about. And the main one I want to talk about is called the general fund. The general fund is where most of the action is. That's where most of the money is spent from. That's where property taxes that you pay and sales taxes that you pay, most of them go into that fund along with fees and fines and a lot of other revenues go into it. And that's where most of the spending takes place. We have other funds that I'll touch on today, and we have a SPLOST fund, which is a special purpose local option sales tax, which is a 1 penny tax that goes in to pay for capital items. Twiggs County uses it mostly for road construction and road maintenance. They have an LMIG fund, which is similar to SPLOST. It's called a grant back from the state of Georgia. It's part of your gasoline tax money that you pay when you drive up to the tank. About 10 or 11% of it comes back to counties and cities all over the state, and Twiggs gets an allocation of that it can use on roads. Twiggs has a... Hello? Yes. Sorry about that, all kind of technical problems too. Maybe you can hear me. Twiggs has a water fund. The water fund is it's called an enterprise fund. It's supposed to be kind of like a for-profit fund, like a private company. We have revenues that come into the water, called water fees from customers, and then we have expenditure that pulls out of that. And then last, we have a 911 fund on your telephone bill. There's a fee that you pay, I think it's $1.50 per landline, per telephone line you have. Those revenues come back to the counties. They're collected by the state, go back to the counties. They help pay for the 911 expenditures of the county. So those are the funds I'm going to cover today. Keep going.
I had to shut everything down. So it's coming back up. It'll come back on.
Sorry about that. When it comes back up, just stand back there. I'll get started with the general fund. The general fund is projected to be up pretty nicely next year. 3% over this year, which ends up being about a $306,000 increase. The expenditures are going to also be up, though, about $377,000, which is a 4% increase, and I'll get into what all these are made up of. That's a net deficit of a net difference of $70,000. But the water fund expenditures are part of that. And anyway, there's a net surplus of $249,000. I'm sorry. So we're running a good surplus in the general fund of $249,000. The 911 expenditures are going to be $336,000. That's payroll and other expenses related to running 911. There's $137,000 in revenue. That's a deficit of about $200,000. The water fund also has a deficit of about $50,000. Water does not pay for itself. 911 does not pay for itself. So the general fund has to make up the difference, and that's what is going on. All together, it's a balanced budget. The revenues equal the expenditures everywhere.
It should be up.
All right, so it's a positive thing. It's a balanced budget. Revenues are up. The county has the money for the first time to start hitting some of its other priorities that it has been looking at for several years and wanting to do for several years, and I'll get into that. And but first I'm going to cover the revenues again, why they're up. As I said, property taxes up. We had a healthy growth in our digest of about 3%. That's very good news. Many counties do not have a growth in that digest, but Twiggs County's up. This is several years in a row that it's had a modest increase in the property tax digest. That's the value of all property in the county that gets taxed. We also have an increase in what's called the FLIPA allocation. That's the exemption. There's an exemption on timberland, and so that saves taxes for property taxpayers. However, the state, when it passed the law a few years ago, sends a little bit of money back to help the counties offset that exemption, because the counties and cities lost a lot of money when those exemptions came on. And that flipper grant, if you call it will, is coming back higher next year, so that's a good thing. Sales taxes are up modestly. Sales taxes on things you buy, up $4,000. Still working on that, right? Other taxes are up $100,000. They have a title ad valorem tax up $66,000, insurance premium tax up $21,000. That is, title ad valorem tax is the tax you pay when you trade your car or buy a new vehicle. There used to be sales tax on it, and then every year you went in and paid an annual property tax or ad valorem tax on it. Now when you come in and renew your tag, you just pay a tag fee, I think, of $20. The title ad valorem tax is collected at the point of sale, at the time of sale. So that goes into the general fund. Court fines are down $39,000. You know we're in a COVID situation. There's just not as many tickets being made. There's not as much court being held, and they are down $39,000. That's all our courts together. That's sheriffs, they're called sheriff's fees and fines in that. Superior Court and other courts are down altogether by $39,000. Fees are down by $27,000. That's most of that is the solar farm was added last year, and a lot of planning and zoning fees were collected off of that. And of course, it won't be built again next year, so they are down when you look at the comparison of years. This next one is really good. It's a new grant. There's a new AMG fire grant that Jack Wood has gone out. It's listed for $105,000. I'm on? Okay. The $70,000. We also have a transit system in Twiggs County, and the federal government and the state government pays part of that. Next year, because of COVID, it's going to pay more of that. So that grant is up to the county by $35,000. So grants altogether are up nicely, $105,000. We look for grants all the time, trying to save tax money, save local tax money, and if we don't get the grant, somebody else is going to get it. So we apply for them all the time. Then all the other revenues altogether are up by $2,000. Landfill revenue is up $46,000. That's just simply due to volume going into landfill is up a little bit. And then a couple of things are down. The tax assessor revenue is projected to be down. And elections, this year is an election year, so a lot of fees are collected from candidates, election qualifying fees when they run, not an election next year, so that's down year on year. We're still trying to work on it. Just to give you an overview, and I have a nice pie chart, I wish you could see it, but it's general fund revenues, and it kind of shows where the money comes from in total. A total general fund revenue, as I mentioned, is a little over $9 million that comes into Twiggs County's general fund. $5.3 million of it, or 57%, comes from the biggest slice. That's property taxes. Property taxes on land and buildings all around the county. And that is by far the largest share, but 43% altogether comes from other places. We get grants of 2%, fees of 18%, court fines of 6%, other taxes of 11%, and sales tax 5%. It's all on this chart right here. Okay, I have a breakdown just right in here of all the individual revenues, but I think I've hit the highlights of everything going on with the general fund revenues. So I will turn on now to general fund expenditures. As I mentioned earlier, they are going to be up 4%, and I'll just talk about some of the things going up. Salaries and wages are going to be up by 5% overall. For the first time, well, I think the second time in many, many years, there's going to be a general pay raise given to county employees this year. Next year will be 5%. This year, county employees got a pay raise of 2%. Next year, every employee in the county, whether they work for a county department or an elected official, will get a 5% raise. Some years in past, elected officials' employees got raised, county employees didn't. County employees are like the road department. Other years, vice versa. Last year was vice versa. This year, we're trying to get everything on an even keel. Everybody's getting a 5% pay raise. I think that's the first good pay raise in many, many years. Many years, the pay was frozen. So it's time to pay the county employees if we can. We did add 7 people to head count for next year. We're hiring 70 people. 1 in the EMA department. EMA, Emergency Management, will report to Jack Wood. That would be an assistant that will help Jack. We're adding 4 full-time people to the fire department. We're going to hire the part-time fire chief full-time, and then add 3 other firemen, full-time firemen, 1 per shift to work 24/7, so that we at least have 1 person on duty at all times. Still rely heavily on volunteers, but we will have 3 dedicated people on the shift. And then 1 for court services is being added to help Ezra. And then 1 recreation director. We are trying to start a recreation department next year. Twiggs, I guess, hasn't had one in a long time, maybe ever, I don't know. And we are going to start trying to fund recreation for kids and adults. We're going to start out with 1 employee and just simply see how it goes. We need to try to provide recreation to citizens and keep people in the county, to keep them from going out of the county so much, spending the money out there, and keep a little bit here in Twiggs. Employee benefits, benefits paid on employee salaries, they're up $51,000. Most of that is we expect the group insurance costs to go up 10% next July when it's renewed. And then the county wants to provide extra benefits, new benefits to employees this year that it's never had. It wants to go up on its life insurance coverage from $25,000 to $50,000 per person. And it wants to, for the first time, have a long-term disability plan that will pay 2/3 of a person's salary if they go out with disability. Twiggs, I think, has had that disability plan. As I tell people all the time, people don't think they're going to get disabled. People don't think they're going to die. And we feel like the county can get good group rates on these things. And we feel like the county is compelled to try to provide these to employees. Just to let you overall, 43% of our, as a percent of payroll, 43% of that is benefits. So it's nearly half of a person's salary. So we tell people, if you make $30,000 with Twiggs County and you think you can make more, you better make at least about $45,000 to make more than the value of your benefits and your pay. People don't often think about the value of benefits, but that is a real important thing. Capital spending is down $236,000. The land payment on the Development Authority land has been paid off. And so that is an expenditure that won't repeat. It was most of that $236,000. We also want to pay off a sheriff's car. We've been buying it on time. We have the money now. We're going to pay it off and save interest. We're going to pay that off in November of 2020. Insurance expenditures are up $13,000. Workers' comp is expected to increase, and we have higher casualty claims. Supplies and purchases are up $208,000. Twiggs has a plan to outsource its grass cutting on the side of county paved roads. There are contract companies out there that do that. That will do a couple of things. We think we'll get a better quality and a better cost of cutting the grass, and that will allow county road department employees to divert to working on other road issues. So that's being funded. We have offset those increases a little bit with dumpster pickup costs. They're just simply down from where we projected last year. We pick up the dumpster sites every week, and just the volume in the dumpsters is less than what we projected last year. Legal and accounting is down $10,000. We're just trying to simply tighten our belts there. We use an outside accountant periodically to come in, and we are trying to just tighten our belts and do more things in-house So that's down. Supplies and purchases are up $208,000. Again, I mentioned the grass cutting. I would think I repeated myself on that. Gas and oil is down $36,000. Gas prices continues to stay down nicely, and we're going to go down on the projected cost of that next year because it just continues to stay down. And from everything we hear, they're going to stay down with all the drilling and things that's going on now. Direct assistance is up $13,000. That's payments we make to outside agencies. Outside agencies are things such as the library, DFACs, things like that. And so overall, that's up $13,000. Office expense is up $12,000. Utilities and phone are down $4,000. We have a telephone system, and we're looking for synergies and savings in that. We've already found some, so we're projecting telephone bill to go down. Vehicle repairs are up $12,000. And contingency, that's the difference in revenues and expenditures. I mentioned we have an overall balanced budget, but we also have a contingency spend in here of $239,000. That's simply a cushion in case something goes wrong or revenues don't come in right. And so for the second year in a row, we're budgeting over $200,000 of contingency. If we don't spend it, everything comes in at plans, that will just add to our reserves. We keep extra reserves as we can, earning interest. I know interest rates are not high right now, but we earn what we can. We get a lot of money in this time of year, starting this time of year, on through the tax season. And revenues are very seasonal in county government. They come in the last part of the year, and they're spent all throughout the year. So there's times we have a lot of money in the fund, but it's going to be used, but we try to earn interest on it while we do have it in the fund. We put it in a fund called the Georgia One Fund, which is very safe and secure in counties and cities and the state use it. Okay, just as a percent of expenditures, the sheriff and all his agencies, or most of the expenditures, they spend 43% of your tax dollars, $3.6 million. Then the next one is all the courts and the road department. They're tied at 14% each. They each spend about $1.2 million. We spend about $1.2 million maintaining our roads, which is 14% of the overall budget. Courts are 14% of the overall budget. That's Superior Court and all the related expenses, the judge, the district attorney, public defender, things like that, as well as the court cost in the courthouse, such as the clerk of court, probate court, those offices like that. So that's a lot of our expenditures. Next is, I call it the property tax administration. That's the amount we spend to collect property taxes. That's both Buddy Neesmith's office and Ramona's office. That's the tax assessor's office and Buddy's office to assess all the property and collect all the property taxes. We spend 8% of the overall budget on that. And remember, we assess the property not just on behalf of the county, but we assess it on behalf of the school system too. So that benefit, if you will, of administering that by the county goes to the school system too. We're next year projecting to spend 7% of our budget on EMA and fire, emergency management and fire. That has gone way up from where it was 2 years ago. We're just beefing that department up, fire and emergency management. We're trying to get Twiggs up to standard on fire. I think ISO ratings have fallen around the county. That saves you money on your insurance with your house. I don't know if they're across everywhere in the county, but many places the ISO rating has gone down. So that agency's doing a real good job. And then outside the agencies, library, DFACs, development authority, things like that, is 3% of our overall budget. Have a pie chart on that. Okay, the next slide I got is very detailed, and it just goes into what each department spends this year, next year, and what's up and what's down. I will point out that we work with the request of all the departments when they turn it in, and we add up what they want to spend, and we have about $9.4 million to spend. And they requested 10.8, so we had to work pretty hard to figure out and prioritize and help departments prioritize what they want to spend. So we actually cut from their request $1.4 million. So we have to have a balanced budget. We can't just go out there, unfortunately, and spend what everybody wants, what everybody requests. We have to prioritize. And I've mentioned some of the priorities that the commissioners want to get into next year. And so we can do that. So the departments realize that. They realize we don't have all the money in the world. And we spend what we can. We prioritize the best we can, the commissioners do. So I'm going to turn now to other funds. I think it's coming on. Our 911, we short of that by about $200,000, as I mentioned. The fees come in and they pretty well pay for all the supplies and things like that in 911, but they don't pay much more than that. So it's a pretty big deficit of $199,000. That's most of that is your salaries and wages that are used to fund the 24/7 coverage of 911. The water revenues do not cover all the expenses, as I mentioned, and it's short about $50,000. So those shortages and those funds have to be made up with the general fund, the property tax money, if you will. Okay, I think I just went over this, but 911 fees are expected to be $138,000, expenditures $337,000. That's your $200,000 shortage right there. And then the water system is projected to have $155,000 in revenues. That's the fees on water bills. Expected to have $205,000 of expenditures. There's a lot of fees associated with water testing and repairs and things like that, and electricity and insurance and things like that on your water system. Water system generally does not pay for itself until you get some economies of scale, and that's the case in Twiggs. You have to have houses and businesses on it. Okay, the SPLOSH fund is the special purpose local option sales tax. The SPLOSH revenue next year, a penny collects for Twiggs County, is $624,000 a year. That's what one penny brings in. The cities get a little slice of that. Jeffersonville will get about $72,000 of it. Danville will get about $14,000 of it. The rest is available to spend by the county. The county chooses to spend most of it on roads and things related to roads. We have two motor grader payments that together are $84,000. We got $200,000 in the budget for paving roads. That's dirt road paving. We got to pay a match to the state on our LMIG grant of 30%. The state requires us to contribute to their contribution back to us, if they will, of 30%. And so that's $125,000. We got a special project to sand seal Big Allen Park of 0.3 miles, $50,000. Got a new truck in for the road department, $81,000. A pull behind patcher of $50,000. And then we have $100,000 in there for major repairs, major expenditures, and even contingency in the SPLOSH fund. So it is a balanced budget for SPLOSH next year. We'll have enough revenues to cover that. LMIG is simply money in, money out. I mentioned that's your gas tax that comes back. It's $416,000. We tend to use that for resurfacing already existing paved roads. And it takes around $100,000 a mile, just about, if you do asphalt, to repave a road. It's a little bit less if you repave it with something else. So it doesn't go really far, but it helps. All right, just to talk about head count. Sorry the slides aren't up there, but we are adding to staff, as I mentioned, 7 people. We have a total of 93 people employed full-time. That's full-time employees next year by Twiggs County. And just to kind of hit the highlights of that, of the 93, the Sheriff's Department is about 50 51, about 60 of them are in the sheriff's office, if I'm adding up right. 15, 30, 32, about 50 of the 93 are in the sheriff's offices. That's the deputies, your investigators, your 911 employees, and your jailers. So over half of the employees are employed by the sheriff's office. The road is only 15 out of 93 in the road department. And then we have 8 in solid waste. Those are part-timers though. And other full-timers are spread out among other places. We got 3 in the admin office, in Board of Commissioners admin office. We have 2 full-time in elections, 3 full-time in the tax commissioner, 3 full-time in tax assessor, 3 full-time in clerk of court, 2 in magistrate court. I mentioned the sheriff, the coroner has no full-timers working for him. Fire and rescue, I mentioned we're going to have 4 fire department personnel working full-time next year. Roads, 15. Recreation, 1 guy that I mentioned that we have, I say guy, might be a woman, hired next year. Buildings, 1 in the building, that's the custodian, and 1 to be hired, restaff planning and zoning. It's been budgeted a few years, but that position is vacant. That's your 93 total employees full-time. That's not counting elected officials, such as your Buddy D. Smith and the sheriff and people like that. That's just your employees that work for elected officials or work for the Board of Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, that's the highlights of this, and I'm sorry we had technical difficulty. It would have been much easier to follow along with slides and pictures, but Liz and Termilla have a copy of this along with much more detail, all the detail you want downstairs, and it's available for, we have to charge a little fee of 10 cents a copy per page. So I don't know what it comes up to, but there's many, many pages, but if you're welcome to just go down and look through it, or you're welcome to take a copy, go home and read it. And that concludes my presentation. Mr. Chairman, this is a public hearing, so I guess we hear from the public now on any comments on anything they heard or anything related to the budget.
Anybody got any questions?
Got a comment,
Yes, sir.
or maybe a couple of comments. If it's okay with the board, I'll remain sitting because I got a bad back problem.
Good.
I just got a copy of the budget proposal yesterday, but Lord have mercy, it looks like we've got so much pork fat in there that it outweighs Smithfield Farms. Insurance going from $25,000 to $50,000. That's a needed situation, but then on the health care, how much are we paying for health care towards the employees? About 85%?
82%.
82%?
Yes, sir.
21 would go to 80. 80-20.
Everybody that's ever attended the ACCG conference in preparation to serve knows that we've got counties in the state of Georgia that don't provide 1 cent towards personal health care. The employees pay their own. And here we're paying that kind of money for employees. I mean, we have just got to stop spending.
It used to be we paid 100%.
Oh, I know that, used to be, and it has come down a little bit, but still 82%, I mean, my goodness. I pay for my own health insurance, and I think everybody else has got a certain amount of responsibility there. Retirement, yeah, everybody deserves retirement. If you put in 30 years, you should get something out of it, especially if it's been dedicated service all along. One thing that I didn't hear mentioned was FICA and FIDA, which has got to be in the budget somewhere along.
FICA is 7.65% of total payroll. It's broken, I'd have to add it up. It's in all the departments, but 7.65% of all.
But it goes without saying, every department builds a little bit of fat in their budget. And under the old concept, if you don't spend it, you lose it. That is true today. It appears that the board is kind of like, you know, we've gone from 6 to 7 to 8 to $9 million. And Where's the money come from? You either have to get it from the industry, and we've had really no new industry, or it comes from raising taxes. And the taxpayers cannot afford any more tax increases. I mean, we've got people out here, if you go out and talk to your constituents, you'll find that you've got people out there paying $6,000 a year in taxes. Now, how can a man live and pay that kind of tax? And as a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman, they live not very far from where you live.
I know that.
And paying all kinds of taxes, 6, 5,000, 3, you know, it's unreal. And
We
it
had
just
went up
seems
on
that,
prices this year.
pardon me?
We had 17, when we had went up. We were planning on cutting back a little bit this year, but that.
You need to cut back a whole bunch. Everybody needs to come in with a sharpened pencil and redo their budget, because this is just outrageous. You know, it's kind of like the guy that got a new credit card, start swiping right then, just spend, spend, spend. Or the kid that's got a checkbook with a bunch of blank checks, just keep writing in checks. Spending is kind of like, it's going in the direction of drunk sellers, just spend as long as you got something to spend it on. Taxpayers haven't had a raise, and I don't know how, oh, well, some of them got a 1.2% pay raise. You go to Bibb County, they haven't given out any extraordinary pay raises. And here in Twiggs, we just keep, I mean, I don't know why, I keep hearing that the salaries in Twiggs County are so bad that we can hardly keep any employees. But we got people coming from Dublin, East Dublin, we've got them coming from Perry, Warner Robins, Bibb County. If salaries are so bad here, what are they coming here for? The water? Sunshine, we don't have any more than any other county. But it's got to be paying allowances. And we're good at that. And I appreciate every employee we got. But if we don't get this thing under control, we need to fire every outside employee and hire back the county employees, and that way they can pay their own salary and benefits. Thank you, sir.
I like that song. I didn't like the whole product, I like that.
It's gonna be a minute before we get back up.
What's
I
that?
got it down right
I
now.
can't hear you.
I got the mic down right now, it's rebooting.
Okay, I'll speak loudly. Mr. Chairman, how you doing? How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me right there?
Yeah.
Hey, I've been studying the county's proposed budget, and it's clear that all departments are prospering pretty well. From what I'm hearing, things prospering pretty well. I only see one thing that has been left out, and that would be a raise. And that raise would be, for a better word, a refund to the property taxpayers of this county. Every person in this budget is gaining from the three millage rate increase put on the taxpayers to really bail out the administration here a good while back.
2017.
Well, actually, that's when it come out, they had to have the money. They had to have it. Without even a letter of explanation why, or even a thank you, or an IOU for that 3 million. And don't you think, out of good faith, we should show some gratitude with a $1 million rollback figured in for the property taxpayers of Twiggs County? And I'd like to say thank you for listening to me. If you got any response, I'd like to hear it.
We were planning on at least $1 million, maybe 1.5 this year. To this corona stuff going up, that threw a kick in our revenue. Or we didn't know what our revenue cycle was gonna be.
But we're spending it though.
That's right.
We're spending it.
But this is the first year in how many years that we hadn't had to borrow money?
Well, that,
The only reason we hadn't had to borrow the money because of the tax increase, trying to pay us
That's
out.
right.
We're gonna hold it one more year. Maybe next year we reach it one.
but you know what it smells like, Mr. Chairman? It smells like a tax hike coming.
No, we ain't gonna look for more.
From what we hear,
We
some
ain't-
still
we
saying
ain't
like it
gonna
might be a tax
go
hike
up. We
coming.
got a little bit of contingency fund. we come out to the same.
But you see what I'm saying about the taxpayer? I mean, these farmers out here, I've heard some people paying way up in the money. I'm talking some of them widows, and big-time farmers trying to make ends meet. But I tell you one thing, we sure need to look at what we're doing in Twiggs County. I mean, I love Twiggs County, but I'm worried about Twiggs County.
We're doing better than what we was.
That's the truth. We're doing a lot better than what we were doing. I think you should also look at the things that we're offering too. The fire department and stuff.
The what now?
The fire department. The fire department, EMA department.
Well,
That's getting a lot better. And we're not just raising, like we said, we're raising taxes. But we also want to help us. We didn't want to start cutting it because we didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we can't really predict the future. So we didn't really want to start rolling back the taxes right now.
With this coronavirus,
Because we
nobody
don't
know what's going to happen.
Nobody knows what's going to happen with this thing. The state may come back and say, hey, you got to pay some money back. So we don't really know. We don't really know what's going to happen. But look at some of the benefits that we have offered for you. More fire protection.
well, we have a lot of good volunteers.
We're building new fire stations.
And we're getting full time.
Right. You're gonna get
Well, if the county can
full-time.
afford it, you know, that's the main thing, is if the county can afford it, without going up on taxes again.
Well, we didn't say about anything about going up on taxes. We didn't say anything like
We
that.
planned on coming down, but according to this, we didn't know exactly what our income was gonna be.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for your opinion.
We're doing the best we can, and then, like I said, it's the first year, and I don't know how many years, we hadn't borrowed any money. You made that comment the other 2 or 3 meetings ago, sir.
Yes, and as a
We've
matter
been
of
back
fact,
in the financial shape, and we've been in a long, long time.
a few meetings ago, I
Going up
did
on taxes, we hadn't even thought about going up on taxes.
a few meetings ago, I did make the compliment that, you finally got into the black and out of the red, but that, I didn't.
We're not completely out of the red.
You're notified.
We're right here.
You're where
We're
you
at the
are.
level mark.
You're where you are today because of taxes going up. I
You
didn't
took
bring that
out-
out, I wanted to give you some benefit and a compliment without showing criticism.
We're not going to let any more on taxes.
But our tax
But they have
increases,
gone.
that's what's made everything available.
Sir,
Our tax increases, is what's made everything available.
our tax increase is one of those, we're not in the black yet. Like this bond keeps stating, until we start spending taxes collected this year in January, we got to have out this year's tax money to make it to January. When we get to that point, then we'll be in the black. We're not in the black, but we're getting up there where we can breathe just a little bit above the waterline.
Can I address you one more time,
Yes,
sir?
sir, you sure can.
Okay, until about 6 years ago, taxes were due on 30 December. Then we get in the squeeze, and guess what? We back it up to 30 November. And see, there's 30 days right there. It's the worst time of the year because you got Thanksgiving, Christmas, a lot of kids need new shoes, they need clothes, of course, and so on.
That's what I just said, we can't make it to the end of the year without using next year's taxes.
But by law, you can't spend next year's taxes.
That's all we can do.
And Georgia, the officials
We've
code,
been doing it a long time, and we get better. We get closer and closer and closer. It's time.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
You may.
I first started coming to Twiggs in 2017. Buddy Neesmith remembers it. I came in early August. The commissioners had just announced a 3 tax increase. I stepped in the door and things were a mess. There's no other way to say it. They were a mess. You couldn't make heads or tails out of anything. You couldn't tell what was going on. We have worked. Tamila and Liz are great. And we have worked on making things understandable to try to provide the information to these commissioners. But more than that, many things were recommended in 2017 as far as pay cuts, and as far as cuts and other things, and they've continued. It's a juggling act to prioritize, at the same time you try to get efficient. In 2017, I walked in the door, we were out of money. And when I say out, I mean out. Could not beat the payroll. We had already borrowed $3.3 million in a TAN. Didn't want to go back to the well anymore on that. So we started cutting. One of the first things we did was had a furlough of county employees. We reduced many expenditures across the board. We temporarily cut some things and several other things. Over the years, other things have been done. As was mentioned, employees used to pay zero toward their health insurance. Now they're paying, next year they'll pay 20% of it. I agree with you that many other counties don't fund at all health insurance, but 20% is a pretty good happy medium for employees to pay and the county to pay. The experience rating, which is what the rates are based on, has gone up a lot. Our insurance agent, Tamila and Liz and others have worked on getting that down. The only way to get insurance costs down overall is to reduce your claims. And they've done that by cleaning up some paperwork and things like that, and that's working very well. So there's been several cuts made. Fees have gone up, water fees have gone up, so other fees have gone up, not just taxes, but many cuts have been made. And the fire is one of the priorities next year. And I think I've already mentioned, while taxes did go up in 2017, ISO ratings have come down for several places. ISO ratings can be hundreds of dollars of difference. I don't know what it means on your tax bill, maybe nothing, but in certain areas of the county, it has come down. So Twiggs has made tremendous progress. As the chairman said, this year, $0 will be borrowed versus $3.3 million. In fact, it was more than that 3 years ago, because the chairman and I, we went around to 3 different companies, and Buddy Neesmith remembers this, we asked for prepayments on their tax bill. So we were really borrowing ahead on that year. So we really borrowed about $3.6 million. So in 3 years, it's gone from borrowing $3.6 million to borrowing $0. That's remarkable progress in 3 years. I agree with you, the tax increase helped a lot, but these budget cuts and expenditure cuts have helped a lot too, along with some other good things that have gone on, such as the tax digest going up. The solar farm, I think, will come online next year. It'll be taxed for the first time, I believe, right, Judy? So we kind of expect, sort of, or cautiously optimistic that the tax digest will continue to go up. So anyway, I just want to paint a little bit rosier picture. We do agree taxes are high. I believe the school boards are 16.6 mils and we're 19.6. And we have a plan, or we have a goal to get that down. We do have $200,000 of surplus. So we keep building reserves, and instead of borrowing money and paying interest, we will start making money and making interest. We need to get up to somewhere around 3 to 6 months of reserves to be a solid county and have good credit ratings and have a good balance. So we're working towards several priorities, and that includes trying to build a reserve, trying to beef up areas that need beefing up, such as fire and EMA. But we need to remember that we have cut back the request from 10.8 million to 9.4 million. So when the requests come in, they come in high, and the county does a job, if you will, on those requests to try to get them down. So we've cut 1.4. If we gave everybody everything they wanted in this request, we would have had to go up $1.4 million, which would be about 7 mils of tax increase. So the county's working with the department heads and the elected officials the best we can, but we need some help from you all to remind the elected officials and department heads that they have a responsibility to do in this tax that we pay. Please, thank you.
Okay, so
What Chris just said, if we went on that one of those requests that turned in, we went up 7.something million. And again, what he just said in 2017, when we were sworn in and took off in 2017, we were $500-something thousand in debt right now. I had told y'all in Labor Day before that we were broke. a minute, we were 500-something thousand dollars, then let January 17th.
I would like to, if I must make a comment here, thank the chairman asked us this indebtedness business started within 12 months or 18 months into the new center. 2000. That's where you've been in the hole. Not 3 or 4 years, not 2017. You started in the hole in the year 2000. You've been running in the hole ever since. We started working on this thing, to my knowledge, somewhere around 2012. But you had a great deal of changes in expenditures, disregarding income and balance. Now, what we're doing now, we're still on it. It really is questionable whether it's a legal maneuver or not, because states and counties do not have the legal ability to borrow money. States and counties. So they do it in a different way. The money that you take in January, for your budget starting the next year, those come in the year before. They are not to be touched till January 1st. And I think somebody mentioned the practice of that there was counting back 30 days from December 20th, was the time of paying your taxes, back now to September, 15th, 20th, to bring that money in early, and that money is used and spent as soon as it comes in. That money is supposed to be tested to January 1st. When those funds come in January 1st, then those monies are to be expended. What the practice was until 2000 was that those funds went into the bank, but naturally you weren't going to spend it on getting all the funds you got in for the year started in January. You weren't going to spend them in the first day. Our practice then was to invest those monies, more over half of them, until about June when you start getting into it. So you're actually making money. This is what the law required you to do. But of course, we came in 2012 in trouble. That's all we had in trouble. When we came back, when I came back in 2012, we had one of the worst financial situations I've seen in my life. All the years I had served before. So this practice did start yesterday, 2012. He started back. This started back the first year after 2000. Money left him. And my God, when they left on a wheelbarrow. So what I'm saying now, you're using this system to pull back. We're talking about our accounting system, and we're talking about a year of budget year 2021. That's what we're raising this money for. But these monies will still be expended now. And this is what, 2020, not 21. But by law, they aren't supposed to be spent. If you own, as the accountant announced, the annual year, a calendar year, starts January 1st and goes to December 31st. Now, we created something called a physical year, which starts what? July 1st. No. Or thereafter, somewhere in that middle of the year. Might not be July, might be June, but it's in the middle of the year. So as funds come in now, we're spending them to get us through. We have no other choice. But the fact is that we're working toward getting it back to a calendar year. And that's a long pool to get it back that way.
Well, like I said,
I offer,
I'm sorry.
one other comment, and you can have it. I offer the system of getting us there. But that system was refused. And we went into staying with this, and working it down this way. And we've got a long way on working this way. But that's what you're kind of things that went on after 2000, horrifying when it comes to finance. So all those records are available. Anybody wants to go back through them, my God, we have that opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, I like to say it.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me get my thoughts together here a minute. But, it's like Chris was saying, get these some buddies now. Buddy's not the one that done it. He has to look at the budget to get us out of it. Our commissioners get us in it. I ain't saying that y'all, I'm saying the past. Commissioners y'all are the power of this county. And we have to look at the budget. What can we do to get out of this man's budget? I should have talked to Buddy first. But we get a little daylight right here. Got a little money. I think everybody get a little raise. I think we ought to help everybody out we can. But on the other hand, you got a little breathing room. And then blam, let's spend it all. It don't make really good sense. I mean, it really don't.
We really haven't got the breathing room to what Mr. Vaughn just said. When we start using this year's taxes in January, we start using this year's taxes tonight.
Well, I had always
We're
kept
still
with it.
not in the black till we get what Mr. Vaughn just said, that we start using in January. Hold them, put it in the bank, but we're a lot better than what we were.
But I tell you, I was sure like to ride around with a Twiggs County tag on saying, hey, Twiggs County got money in the bank. Twiggs County got money in the bank. And our commissioners, not y'all, the past, whatever, has caused all kind of problems for this county. Just might be over the last 10 or 15 years. Other than that, I'm working wide open. I have time to come down here and think about it. But like I say, we've got a little money up, and it seems like it's all fixing to just, I don't know. But what's going to happen? We're going to have to about this buddy, and he might have to bail us out again.
But he can't bail us out, the taxpayers are the one bail us out.
Well, I mean, but
Buddy's job is to collect the taxes.
I know what Buddy's job is. And Buddy's been around here, he's seen him come and go around here
I know,
for 40 odd years.
so we hadn't got the money in the bank yet, but we start spending like the state.
All I can say is good luck to God bless you. I hope we do great. But it sounds a little hairy to me. If it was my money, I'd be worried about it.
So we doing better than what we were. Okay? In 2017, you had a reasonable work. 2013, when me and Mr. Bond took off. What he just said about a bad financial situation, y'all ain't never seen nothing like this type.
But then our commissioners kind of help get us out there.
Private business that has been bankrupt.
Oh, I know
They've
that.
been bankrupt in 2017.
That's exactly right.
That's true.
But you know, you gotta look how you got there. You gotta look how you got there.
We ain't got much. and
Decisions have consequences. And you best be thinking of all the consequences that these decisions we make. Now, I'm not the smartest man in the world, I can say I got all the answers. But I know one thing, decisions do have consequences. And I sure don't want to see another tax hike campaign around this.
You ain't gotta worry about that.
I don't know what to worry about or not now. I really don't.
No,
But I ain't gonna worry about that. Now, a lot of people in the county, they worry about it too. And that's just like, you know what to deal with. Go with it.
You ain't gotta worry about that.
Sir?
You hadn't gotta worry about that. We just said, no, we got one this year if this third coronavirus come along.
But like I say, we got a lot in the bank, and then,
Am I right?
Go back 3 minutes, I made a motion to just put back 1 bill 4 weeks ago, and it just couldn't do it.
I think it could. I
No,
think it
we just didn't have the money to do it, you guys, and still provide, high level service.
If we done that, at a little bit of contingency, what we got, 200-something contingency, that's all the reserve we got. How much did it take to run Twiggs County a month? 400-something.
1.4 million divided by 12, whatever that is,
So you really ain't got to say
about
that.
800,000 a month.
Yes, sir. One equal.
I was here in 2012, and I know the situation was left for the new elected board members. As soon as the elections were over, the old staff, they started spending money. They were buying toilet paper, didn't have no place to store it. They were just buying. And they put the county in such a terrible situation that I'm surprised the new elected members even wanted to stay and become a member of the board. And there's been a lot of bloodshed between then and now.
You talking about 2012 when we took, that's why I said
2012,
we
yeah.
took over 2013.
Yeah, that's right.
You talking about financial mess, we were in
I agree, and
2017 was the same way.
yeah, and so I give you credit for that. You've worked hard all along in order to do where you're at today. But we're all big people here, and that budget starts down at the doer level, which is the different activities, sheriff's department, Buddy's department, your department, and stop building that into the budget. We're asking for stuff that if you go back and check the budgets, you'll see that every year it's got about a 10% increase. And I guess they learned that working for the federal government. And now it's being applied at the local level. But the bottom line, the old concept of either spend it or lose it, we need to get away from that. It's a shame and a disgrace to be taxed the way this county is. And have nothing for it. No sidewalks, no roads, we've got plenty of potholes. Just had to have my front end aligned the other day because of potholes. And I don't go anywhere except Buller's Road. And, well, maybe a few other places, but thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to ask the county and its leadership, and I don't have a problem paying my taxes. And I ain't got a problem with employees getting raises, and getting benefits and insurance. I mean, everybody's got to live. What I do question is that pie chart shows like 52% of all the revenue comes from taxpayers. But what I ain't heard, or I don't hear in this county, is the leadership of this county bringing in other revenue to offset that cost that the taxpayers have to pay. Now, if our roads were all good, can't drive down Bullard Road, 358's a mess. Our children have no recreation. There's no entertainment in this county. And I mean, I don't see anything from our tax money to come back to the citizens and the residents of Twiggs County. And so if we've got to we pay the highest millage rate in the state. We're centrally located here. All our surrounding counties, they grow. They do a better job. Allentown does a better job. Twiggs County does, Jeffersonville does. And so when I ask myself, I just wonder what the leadership of this county, how they think and how they think for the future. Because, out of all the budget that I've heard, I don't really question the money spent, because we need these services and we need these things. But we're a county, we have a lot of resources here. And, I don't understand why we don't have more business, industry, warehouses. We have a nice place over here on I-16. We have right between Macon and Dublin. If you travel that 50 miles, you get halfway, you might want to stop and use the restroom. Why don't we have a Burger King, Dairy Queen? Why is there more growth there? That brings in sales dollars. You know, we have nothing to draw anybody to this county. We don't have the festivals. You know, we don't have anything like the surrounding counties, you know, do. And you know, that's where I look toward, I don't really understand if it's the county commissioners or who actually runs the county. But as our leaders of our county, I feel like y'all should do a better job for our county and our future for our children and our grandchildren.
Thanks,
Sir,
Let me search this book stuff. Give me just a minute, Robert.
all right.
You talking about the highest millage rate, a mill in Twiggs County, Georgia, for $263,000. Chris, how much is it worth in Bill County? You got
I
that?
don't know Bill County.
If I'm not badly wrong, a mill is probably worth around $1 million, maybe a little more. Houston County, I don't know what it's worth. That's the reason. Our mill rate may be higher, but they get more money per mill than we do, sir.
Right.
And you're talking about bringing industry here. Miss Shirley, you're trying your best, aren't you?
More than people will ever know.
Okay. Our population has decreased from right at 12,000 people back 2005 to 8,129.
If you don't do something right, it's gonna continue to decrease.
That's right, it's going to continue, but what can we do besides offer them a place to come?
Well, other
We
counties,
can't-
Lawrence
we can't-
County,
Well, I
You're
think,
talking about
these
the
counties
taxes going
grow.
up. We can't
They have grown.
build a Burger King.
right. And I think what too,
I'm sorry.
I think also too, we gotta look at where you're at. And you're right, we got great opportunity out here on the interstate. But the county got to get itself in some kind of position to bring businesses in. If you don't have any fire protection, who gonna comes in? Your building brought down and nobody responds to your fire. You know, so you got to get yourself in the kind of position financially to do this. You know, people believe it. Yeah, because you don't have recreation, you don't have Burger King. You just can't go around the corner. But you kind of got to get in some kind of financial situation to bring for those people to make the county attractive to come in. And that's what we're trying to do. We're working hard as we possibly can, you all.
I understand.
And I get emotional about this because this is one reason I ran. But when I got in the seat, I realized there's more to it than you think. It's really more to it, those underlying
I
things.
understand that.
And I'm just having a discussion. I know I'm getting a little loud, but pardon that. I'm just saying.
But my point is, I've lived here all my life. Jeffersonville, probably in the 80s and 90s, was more thriving than it is now.
I agree.
I agree with you.
And, you know, our future here doesn't look good. And, you know, I know everybody's working hard. And, you know, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we need some real solid leadership in this county to make an effort for us to grow. I don't want to live in Bonaire, Warner Robins, in a community like that. I enjoy this. It's peaceful here. It's quiet. We've got good people. Everybody gets along. And that's nice. That's a plus. But we also need businesses here in Jeffersonville. We got a lot of nice buildings here. They should be full with something. There's money in this county. But where does our money go? Macon goes to, Lawrence County, Warner Robins, Milledgeville. Everybody goes off to buy things that could be bought here. And you know, that's my whole thing is that when we look at all this and we have to pay our taxes, I feel like, well, what did I get from my taxes this year? You know, I mean, you drive down Bullard Road, you dodging all the holes and the sunk-in places, and you know, it doesn't. As a taxpayer, you know, I just don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. If that's what I mean. I mean, I don't mind paying. You know, if it takes what we're paying. And we got a good county and all the roads are good and our children have a recreation department and you know, people are here. You know, like in Lawrence County, they've got a nice recreation department. People come from everywhere. You know, they leave their money when they come to the county. And And that's what I'm just looking for, is just, you know, I want to know, you know, the leadership of our county to, you know, just make things a little easier on the citizens here.
We trying our best, sir.
I know, I'm not saying
And
that,
we
you know,
trying to start this recreation program this year. We take 10% of the supply
right.
to go toward it. But
I understand budgets and all.
Lawrence County got, how many people? 50-something thousand, we got 8,000.
But, you know, they also
Lawrence
have,
County got a good recreation park. I don't know what their population is.
But I think we're moving in the right direction, but it's just gonna take some time. It takes some time. You just can't, you think that you can just automatically ask companies to come and they'll come.
If you want to do whatever you're talking about, the recreation on, you're talking about the taxes going up.
well,
They would have to, because that's where the money is. That's the only place we can get money.
you can't never tax your way out of
You
debt.
can't tax your way out. I understand that, sir.
But I would just feel like there's a lot of opportunities here that I feel like people are following through.
16 corridor.
You know, huh?
There's on the 16 corridor out here, 96. There's a lot of opportunities to go to the road. If this Burger King comes, and all this other stuff, this meeting we had the other day, Miss Shirley, with everybody trying to upgrade our sewage and water out there, what were we talking about? $15 million. So you got, when this comes, and I hope it comes, but you got a lot of expenses going with it, right? You got to figure a way to pay for it. It is been time. Hold on, man. She's been holding my hand. Go ahead, man.
Listen, people, I've been listening to y'all, and it's the funniest thing. Because let me tell you something, you gotta go step by step in your community. First thing you gotta do is you gotta learn how to get along with each other here. That's the major thing. And I remember back in the time when we had those leadership meetings and talk to each other, because every time I come to a meeting, I can't always sit here because it's always big. Comfort is not gonna come to you because we're angry people. We're not getting along. So they don't wanna come into a community that's not getting along. So we need to start sitting down, talking to each other rather than talking at each other. It's so much bigger in here. That's why we don't have nothing in Twiggs. Now, I was the mayor for 12 years, and I know it was 3 companies that rejected us because we raised so much hell in here. They didn't want to come in. So we got to find a way to start talking more better to each other. We got to get it straight here before we can bring anything in. Money is important, yes. But getting along is more important because we got enough smart people here. We can build our own stuff. But we just got to sit down at the table and try to figure it out because we ain't figuring it out because we too much trying to blame who did this and who did that. It's not about that. It's about us getting along. So I think the first thing we need to do is sit down and go back to the leadership meetings and know each other so we can learn each other. Because right now we're not going to have to get anything. And it's not about us, these old people. It's about our kids. We're not going to leave anything here for our kids. Because we can get along without anything, but we are destroying this community because our kids are not going to have nothing here because we're too busy fussing about it. So we need to sit down at the table and not worry about so much money. We need to worry about getting along. We're not going to have to get anything getting along.
Man, that's the best thing I've heard all day.
I mean, it's just, I've tried not to say this, but it's the only way it's going to happen is that we get along first. I'm telling you. We gotta do it.
I don't like the impression that we're not here doing anything. And that's what, maybe I'm hearing wrong, but that's what I'm hearing. That, you know, we're just sitting here, we're not doing anything, we're not concerned. You just don't know. I mean, you just don't know the work that's being done. And it's important that you have to try to give to people that are doing something. You know, there's a lot of things out there. People are out here working. They're working hard. But we got to get those people that support.
Well, we're not saying you're not doing nothing, but, you know, it's got to be a change, got to be happening.
I think the change has already been made. We just got to keep it up.
You got to get you moving forward.
Right, yes, sir.
Right now,
not.
Anybody else?
Future, our kids.
Yeah, Commissioner Ford, I agree with this man back there. Nobody's saying you're not doing anything. And I'll go back to my previous statement. It starts down at the doer level at the department. If they keep building that into the budget, you've got no choice but accept their budget and whack and cut where you can, and then stand there with machetes trying to defend yourself. They have to cut it down at the department level. And everybody, you go around and look. Example being, here about 2 weeks ago, you had dumpsters being relocated down in District 1. They had 3 people down there, actually 4 people down there supervising the motor grader operator, and he was the only one doing anything. Everybody else was standing off to the side laughing and joking and backslapping. Waste of man hours, and of course when you start wasting man hours, you're wasting salaries. The other person, the 4th person at the center, that was JT. He was out there watching and helping that forklift operator keep from running over people. The 3 other people were members of, I won't call the staff, but they had their trucks and everything parked outside there, doing absolutely nothing but being paid for it. So it starts down at the department level. As long as they keep building that pork fat into it, it's going to get greasy. And that's what it is right now. And I know your job is tough. They justify, they tell you I'm going to die if I don't get this blood. When in fact, they're laughing all the way in their conscious level because they know they're getting overrun. Now, in a lot of cases, I'm sure they need what they ask for, but there's a lot they don't need that they're asking for.
Well, at that day, I was down there that day. I was probably one of them that stand around trying not to get run over too. But there were guys down there, Jack, myself, Bud, operating, and also there was the cleanup afterward. That front end loader don't get everything. We was cleaning up afterward that too. And also, you also just about need a safety officer on every job like that. Now, we didn't have a designated safety officer, but I called myself as being a safety officer to make sure people didn't get run over. Only who can change. Not walking around the train, but one guy on the other side connecting the chains together. So sometimes it looks this way, but it's not really that way. And I was there, so I can vouch for that myself, you know. Then we had the truck driver, the rollback operator. He was there. And he's got CDLs, and a lot of our guys don't have CDLs, so he had to be there also. So it kind of looked like we were standing around, but we weren't.
Well, when I was there, you weren't there, so.
Yep. But I may have left. I may have left at the time, but we just about finished up. But, you know, Jack was working, Bud was working, and the other guys were too. And then we had the truck driver, CDL.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of not having things for kids, on Saturday the 31st, we're going to have our first trunk or treat at the courthouse square. And they need people to participate, bring candy, do cards. But we're hoping that will be a success.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Mr. Fox,
No.
he was talking about recreation, y'all was gonna hire, how many people you gonna hire?
Next year, the plan is to hire 1.
Where are they gonna go?
At the rec department, they're gonna organize the rec.
Huh?
They're gonna actually organize the rec.
Okay.
The first job is to kind of help the county determine the direction. We think kids need ball and teams and things like that. There's a ball field on, Segoda Road. And it's in pretty good shape. And the plan is for that to be the start to a recreation department, countywide recreation department. Where it goes will be up to the people, how much they want to use it, what they want, and a lot of county recreation departments are closing or downsizing. They're closing down because kids do travel league and all this kind of stuff now. So some part of this is honestly we're just kind of feeling out how it's going to go in Twiggs County. But we do know that kids go to Warren Robins to play baseball, and Jones County and Bibb County and other places like that to play baseball and football. And so we're trying to keep some of those dollars here in the county. We're trying to get to a modest start. One person can't do a lot, but they can do more than zero. So that's the plan. So we hope everybody kind of help support. We hadn't started advertising yet, but we hope to hire the right person. The key is hiring the right person. So I think that job will be advertised in a little while and probably start interviewing and trying to select the right person, because they'll have to be a leader. They have to lead the effort to provide recreation to the county. And that's just the first step.
On the, if I might just comment there, he's speaking of what is normally called Session Field on Segola Road. And it's misleading by being called Session Field due to the fact that on the sign it shows no relation to Twiggs County. But the JMU Corporation is 82. I went to them in 82 or 84, somewhere in that time frame, and asked them for that property. They donated that to Twiggs County then. Later years got to Session Field, but Mr. Sessions don't own that field, Twiggs County does. I'm gonna put together before I leave today a motion to change that to District 3, Twiggs County Recreation. Because only implies, I know this, forget your name, you don't agree to that, but it's misleading because when you see that on the sign, it says for use, for a lease agreement, you have to lease it. You don't have to lease it. That implies that it's privately owned. You got to come in and use the leasing agreement in order to use it. Now, I know the purpose for that. I'm not going into that today. But to let it be known that Twiggs owns it, Twiggs always owned it. No money changed hands to put that sign up there. I know why I say it. And to name it District 3 or Pearson District, it's in Pearson District. But that was donated by the JMU Corporation in 1984 at my request. We had a little ceremony, and so it's been there since 1984. But it has not had any fixed up nicely, but nobody actually used it until the last year or so. And people were coming and using it for different purposes. So we want to pick that up a little bit. But see, this is what I'm saying to you. Your problem as far as finances in progress were started in the year 2000. And we came back going through the paperwork, where we were financially. I've never seen any group get away with such things. Such things. Legality was thrown out of the window. And the rest are still available. You want to spend some time, see most of it. And how they did it, I don't know. People shouldn't be able to do that. But that's what we've been working from, trying to put it back where you own a calendar year. We're saying calendar year, but the money has to match the day of expenditure. You can't spend 2000 money, 2001 money, in 2000, what, the year before. Those tax dollars you're paying now, that you're going to be paying the next day or two, scan pay now, those monies don't be touched until January 1st. And what we were doing at that, up until that time, all that money was put in the bank, and naturally, when it all went in by January 1st, we weren't gonna use it all that first day. So we made money off of it for 6 months before we actually started burning it down. And this is what's for that. And I understand what he's talking about, because you had 60 days to pay your taxes, counting back from December 20, and 60 days back. That was your 60 days of paying your taxes. But they spent all that then, the practice was, then they had to back it on back. September, got bringing in early. And they just wasn't getting it in as fast as it was going out. So we were in a heck of a mess. We were just pulling out of it. We aren't all the way out of it. You're a long way down the road. But it took all this time. My plan and to put together would have brought us out of it faster. But nobody wanted to go into it. But the records or there had to do some research, and it's all there. But the thing I'm trying to tell you is that you can't understand it with one meeting, or some people are preaching the community, saying this, that, and the other. Never come in and research it and see what it is. Some people dominate, never come to a commission meeting. Never come to a commission meeting. Never see it. But they can say, oh, it's just going haywire. That's what you see, and most times you see it. But to get to understand it, you need to do your research. So, boy, it blew my mind when I saw and how to get around it, how the law was used. And it was just like, the lender was saying, I can't do this way. We'll do it, put it on paper. My God, what bravery and ignorance I thought. Got away with it, and money left here about $1 million. We weren't in this state in 2000, went to the city change from 1999 to 2000. We weren't in that state. No. No, we weren't in that state. We weren't in the state we ordered that. No, I'm telling you that. We had money coming in, but we weren't spending. We were bringing in money above the budget. Above the budget. And no $10 either. So, but that's the way it is. You have to go back and do your research work. You get to see it all as it lays out. And anybody wants to take on this mantle, they do the research work. So when you say things, and it just say work to go by, it's in the records. Some of it's a little bit complicated to run it down. But all kind of games are going on. That's all it was, games. And a lot of people did it from it. I mean, they didn't do it for fun. They did it for money. And they're all you and I. So we get back there, I think, I see some things that everything now is perfect. Now, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is the bulk of what we are is that. But we got some cleaning up we can do. I'm telling you that. You know, all that's in there.
Thanks, sir. For the second time, did anybody else have to find something further here? We still got like Mr. Minutes. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, I've got to leave, got a doctor's appointment coming up, but I appreciate the opportunity to appear before the board and voice my concerns, and I've got to commend you on this. Now, don't take it out of context, but under the old regime, that gavel would have been slammed about 3,000 times today.
Sir, I think everybody ought to have to say this is the United States of America. It's supposed to be a democracy.
Yeah. And I had
free speech. If you want to talk, you got the right to talk.
Yep, I haven't heard point of order been brought up not one time today. Thank you for it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Go ahead.
I heard a comment a while ago about people bring business in here. When in 2017, when the new board took office, we inherited a $580,000 debt. Had two companies wanted to come in. The first thing they heard was the county broke. What did they do? They went to Bill County. And we've got to get money in the county. What we have right now, we're doing a whole lot better. That's the reason we went up to 3 million. We didn't want to do that, but we had to survive. And another thing, we have 24 meetings a year. A lot of these people I see out here today, it's the first time they've been here. They should come at least once a month to hear what's going on, to voice your opinion. You pay taxes. I live in the county. I've been in the county all my life. And I pay taxes just like you do. In the recreation field, they've been here before. The children didn't play here. You got a field in Danville to shut down right now. You got one on Highway 80 down here. I travel that road regularly. I've never seen anybody down there. We had one in District 4 back in the 70s. Nobody played there. They started stealing all the bases, everything's gone. So, you know, the people, the citizens have got to get out and get involved in what's going on in the county. Thank you all for being here today. We're working the best we can right now to get things brought into the county. We hope to get new business in soon, because now we've got money. You don't have money to bring here, they're not coming. Thank y'all for that.
Commissioner Birdsong, I used to be at every meeting until 2017. And my family doctor at that time prescribed a bunch of medicine, and it almost killed me. 3 weeks in the hospital, and I'm still recovering from it. And here it's got me walking on a cane instead of 2 good legs. So you'll see more of me now that I'm able to get around.
Appreciate what you say. Thank you for coming, and hope to see you more often.
Thank you, sir. You will.
Everybody else here too.
What Mr. Birdsong said is true now. The social and Twiggs County is involved in everything. I'm serious about that.
And the night meeting,
It's a public involvement.
the night meeting was set up, excuse me, I think you, but I want to say this. The night meeting was set up to make it available to people who were working in the daytime. There were no night meetings when I came in in 75. We weren't in. It took about 4 years of pushing that we would set up a night meeting. All the meetings were in the morning at 9 o'clock, come in at 9, and by noon, gone. If you were working in the daytime, a daytime job, there were no night meetings. You met once a month, 2 hours, same people, a handful, out and done. So to make it available, we set up the second meeting in the month. That's for people to come in and have a view and get an understanding, and the actual people who pay these taxes. Most people, especially then, were working what days till we set it up so that you have an opportunity to come. So it's beneficial. Excuse me.
Go ahead, Mr. Wood.
You got mind,
Sir?
you got mind if I kind of bring everybody up to speed, kind of what we got going on, or what y'all have been working on?
Do what now?
Go ahead.
I'm Jack. I was hired here in 2018. I'm fire chief EMA grad, and I do anything else they ask me. So I listened to your comments, and just going to kind of bring you up where the Board of Commissioners has supported us in our departments and where we're at now. When I first came here in 2018, there's a lot of folks outside the county, dug out the races, come and taking the position, taking the job. They said, Twiggs County won't never go nowhere, it'll never grow, you'll never be able to apply for a grant. You can apply, but you'll never be awarded a grant because everything that happened in the past. Whatever happened prior to 2018, I have no idea. That doesn't concern me. But what does concern me is the fire service, EMA service, and get the best services to the citizens that possibly can be here. I want to look at, and I've been looking for property here in Twiggs to become my home and my retirement. Here's where I'm going to be. So, anyway, in 2018, we started work. One of the major issues we had when I first got home was insurance. Y'all know the insurance deal, this one we went through over there, there's no way to fix it. If we couldn't fix the insurance, I wouldn't have been able to stay here because I had to have insurance because my wife is sick. And anyway, we sat down and we went to work with the commissioner's help. We sat down and we fixed the insurance. We saved the county just over $200 and something thousand that year on insurance alone. And therefore, the insurance was affordable, all the employees was able to stay, and we was able to fix that process. During that time, we wrote for grants. I've got approved for AFG grant. That's where those 3,000 gallon tankers actually come. It was over $497,000 or $469,000 worth of grants. We bought 2 brand new trucks for $15,000 and all the same cost the county per truck. So we awarded that $400,000 there. This year alone, grant money that's coming in. We've already been awarded a 4-year salary for a retention and recruitment officer to come in to help go out into the community, recruit firefighters to come in. We want to get with the school system because one of the things that goes on within all of the counties is when you graduate, a lot of your kids cannot go to college. They cannot afford college. They cannot afford to get out and go on. So therefore, they're stuck in minimum wage jobs. They're stuck doing whatever they can possibly do. Well, what we want to do is get into with the school system. So as my retention and recruitment officer comes on, and he starts November 1st of this year. Once he gets here, we want to get into school systems to do a program. Lawrence County has just done the same program through their EMT program, where they're going to the school systems, EMT, and they're teaching advanced EMT. When the kids graduate, they're graduating with those EMT diplomas and certifications, and they can take those same tests and start into that career field. We want to do the same thing with the fire service here. We want to bring those seniors in, give them those opportunities to go through our fire class, and as soon as they graduate, they can test out firefighter 1, test out the firefighter 2, and they can go directly into a firefighting field or get into an EMT program, which I'm working with Lawrence County as well, so they can actually come out of Twiggs County High School as a firefighter EMT ready to go to work, and they're for college right there in their opportunity. Hopefully they'll stay within Twiggs County and we can hire them here. But if they don't, then go on out. That rate by itself was coming in at $297,000. That's a 4-year salary, paid for 100% of benefits at no cost to the county whatsoever. Also, I'm still waiting to hear for a grant for full-time paid firefighters. That will give us a firefighter here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which will have our ISO rating. And that grant is applied for. I'm waiting to hear back from me. It hasn't been awarded yet, but that grant comes in just over $300,000 for the next 4 years. And it pays for 100% benefits, 100% salaries as well. So that won't be any cost to it. If that doesn't come in, we've included into the budget of this year full-time paid firefighter spots. So we will have a full-time paid firefighter here. Hopefully the budget will come in and get paid for, and then we get to roll that money back into the general fund and won't use it in the fire service itself. My budget shows that I'm 356% above budget, but the majority of all of that is over right at $800-something thousand that we've applied for in grant money alone this year. That's not counting what I was awarded last year grants. So we're on the right path. Commissioners doing everything they can. They support our departments greatly and wholeheartedly. Are there areas we're going to have to fix? Yes, desperately are. Are there people that kind of slid up under the table and everything and haven't done their jobs? Yes, they sure have. We're fixing and we're addressing those issues. Those areas is getting better. The part-time firefighters that we actually have hired here this year is first time ever in the history of Canada we've actually had part-time firefighters here. They're here. They bought lawnmowers. Those lawnmowers actually paid out of money Ms. Sullivan and Leah's had found back in 2009, but had just been sitting there laying stagnant. Nobody knew it was there. We found those squash collars that was coming in that could be used for public safety and works in order to buy the right lawnmowers that it took. So now, General Twiggs, Black Bottom, all of these smaller areas where we couldn't get the big tractors and we cut grass, right through there and look at them. They're all cut. So we cut them, the firefighters that we hired because they got to be in the community. The fire hydrant or
Some of our hydrants, when I first got here, had trees that big around, growing up in front of it, had telling me they had to be maintained. You won't catch that in front of fire hydrants. Now, all of them's clean. They stay clean, they're staying flush, they're staying like they're supposed to be doing. That's because the work is back to where we need to be at and maintaining our system and taking care of it. We're only going to improve as we go forward. So that's kind of where we're at here to kind of bring you up to date where we're at. My first 2018 and 19, put a book together for the commissioners and give them copies of it. What I directly had hands-on involved in was a savings to the county close to just over $1 million in the first 2 years here. Savings, that's what we found, that's what we saved the county. Just over $1 million that I had to break in. So, come out to the office, I'll sit down and go through every last piece of the part. We're starting to deal for some of our fire calls because a lot of our fire calls are the interstate running back and forth, and up and down the road, and there are out-of-state, out-of-county cars that there's taxing on our resources. We're actually got a billing system now in that we're actually billing these insurance companies for, and we've collected just over $9,000 so far since that got implemented and started in the 11th part of 2018. That's what helps pay our percentages for our grants and all. That way it don't have any direct or negative effect on any of the taxpayers' money. So that's kind of where we're at, the program that these commissioners here actually put together. What's happened in the past, I can speak to that. All I can do is what I've seen in 2018, the support that I do have here, and where we're headed in the future as far as Twiggs County goes itself. And I am wonderful and grateful to be a part of that. We have an ambulance service now, 24/7, they come. It's not the best scenario, wait to tell you that, but it's a whole lot better than what we had. That service now should give us free of charge, don't cost us a dime. You know, run an ambulance service, one truck in the county itself is a price tag comes with it $1.3 million a year, one truck. And that's to give us that free of charge. So we're getting where we need to be at, and we're going to grow. 10 years from now, you won't notice our city's down. We're going to have to improve out there. Our sewage system's got to come up in order to handle the establishments that needs to come in here. Right now, our capacity is 30,000 gallons a day. It's all I can do. If you add more customers onto that, that increases that. EPD's got to permit it out, and you've got to deal with that sewage. So we're working on trying to get some of those things moving and get it fixed, and that's where we're at right now. And we're in negotiations now with the engineers and everybody else in order to expand that system. There's over 3 miles of sewer system that was actually put in before this commissioners had come on board. Nobody knew about it. We cut it because it was hard in my head. We cut it all, so there's a whole pipeline out there. All we have to do is attach to it, build a little bit bigger treatment facility, and the system's already there. $4.5 million worth. We never know, we found it. But we cut it all out. You can drive through it now. Before he could drive through it, couldn't even see through it, didn't even know it was there. So all of that stuff here to fix. So we're getting there a little bit at a time, and a little bit. But the potholes that everybody's mentioned, we're going to have equipment to fix that. We're going to have a patcher in order to spray down. We can put coat patch in. It costs us just over $100 per hole to put coat patch in, and in 30 days it's seep right back out. We can take this patcher and we can patch a pothole for $30 per pothole. It costs us all hot, just like regular cement there. Roll it and pack it down, and it's fixed. That's what we got to get to. We're going to have to spend a little money. We're going to have to buy some packers. All of that is written in these budgets in order for us to get the equipment that we've got to have in order to give y'all the service that's going to require you so much desperately needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah. How many firefighters you got? Volunteer?
I have on my roster 32 volunteer firefighters. I have actively that I pay, that I can depend on, be there, 6.
Remember that community participation? That's a good compliment. Okay. Anybody else before we close out the budget here? All right. Somebody make a motion to close out and we go on the regular session.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. How you vote? Yes.
Yes.
All right.